Hey everyone, this is Derek from Jeep Budget Builds. Today we're going to be working on the axles on my JKU. We're going to be adding shock relocation brackets. We're going to start with the rear axle. So we got some spare axles here that we keep in case we break anything. But the purpose of the rear one is we'll cut off right about here, and it'll give us about 2 inches of extra clearance when we're on the trail. And the new bracket will bolt up a little bit lower than this, come through the sway bar mount and bolt through this bracket and give us more ground clearance. Then we're going to move up to the front axle, and we got these brackets. They slide in here fairly nice, bolt through here, bolt here, and it'll give us about 2 extra inches to raise the shock up. And the main goal for this one is to hopefully give us more down travel while we're off-roading, and we'll get some measurements and stuff and see what kind of difference it makes for you.
We used a skid steer we had on hand to max out the suspension. We took a measurement from the tire to the ground, and then we also took note of how far compressed or how far extended the shocks themselves were on the up tire and the down tire. And we repeated this on the rear suspension also. Our next order of business was to remove the lower shock mount. We did leave the shock attached at the top and just slid the shock backwards out of our way. After removing the lower shock, then we disconnected the sway bar end link and removed the sway bar end link out of the way also. With the sway bar end link and the shock out of the way, Derek took his first measurements to decide how much he was going to cut off the control arm. Next, we cut the shock mounts themselves off using a hammer to make it a little bit easier on us. Now you're ready to actually take your final measurements and then make your final cuts. After Derek made his final cuts, he switched over to a grinding wheel to clean up the edges of it and then hit it with some spray paint. We repeated this process on the other side while we're waiting for the paint to dry. Here's what our bolted up brackets look like, and here is what our final product looks like put back together. Installing the front raised mount was pretty easy. Just take out the one bolt, pull the shock back out of the way. There are 2 bolts that go into the mount, and then you re-bolt the shock back in. Our biggest issue was trying to recompress these Fox shocks. Okay, so the final outcome for this project, raising the front shocks up gave Derek about another 2 inches of droop. He was maxing out the shocks before on the front. Raising the rear shocks up on it not only gave us a couple more inches of clearance underneath the axle, but it actually also increased our total flex overall. When we took our second measurements, we were almost a full 4 inches higher with our off-the-ground tire than when we started. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check us out on Facebook and Instagram.